So Paul, I was looking at something this week that was talking about therapies, and sometimes the therapist, doesn't work for people. Like, as a therapist yourself, like, have you experienced this with people where therapy doesn't work?
Yeah, it's not like I do hypnosis, which is therapy. It's a different kind of therapy, but I would say to people, it's not a panacea. It's not a kind of a wave your magic wand and everything is suddenly going to be blissful and everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
But any kind of therapy, it's not. There's no guarantee with it. There's no guarantees in life, anyways. Mm. But sometimes people have unrealistic expectations. That's what I find.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm an EMDR therapist, so that's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and I would believe that that's nearly a guaranteed therapy. Do you know, like, it's guaranteed to work.
If you engage
with it, if the person engages with it, if they're capable of, getting into it. But some people are not capable, and sometimes it doesn't work for people. Yeah. And I think people are really taken aback, or they're shocked when it doesn't work or something,
Yeah. And again, I find this with hypnosis, people kind of more or less have the attitude that you're like a faith healer.
Yeah.
So you're going to sit down in front of this guy, he's going to click his fingers and go, and you're okay, and you don't smoke anymore. And some people, if you're highly suggestible, it will work really seamlessly and easily. And most people are suggestible to some degree because we're influenced by everything. That's what suggestibility is, how easily influenced you are. And we're exposing our minds to advertisements, to every kind of thing.
Yes,
so,
all for suggestion.
You're always getting suggestion implanted into your mind, whether you're aware of it or whether you're not. So you don't randomly buy stuff.
Yeah.
If, like me, you buy stuff you don't need, gadgets and stuff. That idea has been implanted in your head somewhere along the line.
Yeah,
and then you go and you end up buying it, and then you justify why you buy it.
That's right.
So
the children need new clothes, like.
Yeah. But I think all therapy at its heart, whether you're doing counselling, whether you're doing EMDR, hypnosis, or any of the other kind of talking therapies, it's a way for your mind to process what you've been through, what the problem is, whether it's in a trauma or whether it's recurring anxiety or a phobia.
Yeah.
It's your mind. It's a space for your mind to process and make sense of what you've been through and to think of it in a new way. And this is what processing is, because your problem exists because you think of it in a particular way. As I say, it's like a story you tell yourself about the problem.
That's right.
And you keep telling yourself the story over and over again, and the story becomes your truth.
That's right, yeah. That's incredibly valid.
Yeah. So when you realise this is a story, and like we're chock-a-block full of stories.
Yeah.
And some of the stories are myths. But we believe them.
Oh, we do, yeah. We're convinced of it.
Yeah, I mean, religion is a case in point, because if every religion was true, how come the stories are different?
Yeah.
What's
flipping happened there?
Yeah, and it's not just religion, it's politics and it's other things. So if you change the story you're telling yourself, you feel different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, there's another therapy that I would do as well would be CBT, and that was quite a buzzword for a long time, wasn't it? Like,
that was seen as a panacea for a while.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hold on a minute.
I used to get loads of people inquiring, looking for CBT specifically.
Yeah.
And then, when they come in,
it's cognitive behavioural therapy.
That's right,
didn't know.
But then when you come in for it, there's loads of homework. Like, you have to do so much work yourself. And I think that's true of nearly all therapies. Like with hypnosis and EMDR, there's no homework. You don't have to go home and do anything else. You just have to maybe keep a note of your thoughts around things and see what way are you. And you might have to come back for another session or two or whatever,
Yeah, there's BWRT, which I did some training in, and it's brainwave recursive therapy.
Yeah.
But when you get into it, one of the things that put me off it was you bring the client through maybe an hour of a questionnaire and they fill up things, and I'm going, I kind of just want to get straight into it.
Yeah.
And I kind of think, well, hold on, the client has thought long enough about their problem. You don't want to kind of just compound that and reinforce it. Okay, like I do bring a person through a questionnaire to find out what's happening now and what's gone on before that might be impacting the problem. But it takes less than half an hour to do it.
It's a sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, big difference.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So. Yeah, number one, the person has to engage, and I say this to people when they're hypnotized. When I'm going to hypnotise them. They're kind of wondering what's going to be, because they've seen, stage hypnotists kind of go, you're on.
I know.
And there is a technique for doing that, instant inductions.
Yeah.
But it sometimes the induction works because of the venue, that if you're on stage and you're in front of an audience, you have an expectation that it's going to work instantly, and you've seen somebody else go, and
you think,
that already,
well.
you comply with the thing. But in a clinical environment, in a room with just one other person, it's seldom indicated that that's what you should do. So I do a thing called progressive relaxation, but I would always say to the person, the one thing is, I can't relax anybody.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, what? I can't. You cannot inflict relaxation on somebody.
Yeah.
I said, so I need your cooperation. I need you to kind of say, do you know what? I'll be as relaxed as I can be. And that's good enough. That's fine, because there's no pressure that way.
Yes, exactly.
But it implants the idea into the mind that they are going to relax.
Yeah, isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved hypnosis with you. Like, I've been for hypnosis with you for giving up the vapes and, trying to get me to stop eating cake as well. That didn't work yet. Because I don't want to let go of the cake, But I think that's important to say as well. Like, I wanted to get rid of the vapes, and then
you were ready.
I was ready to quit, and I just needed a little bit of that auto-suggestion in there to help me. And it did. Yeah. Then it worked, you know.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's a lot of it is down to yourself and your motivation to change as well.
It is.
And it's the same with all therapies. I think it's the client, you have to be motivated to change as well. People often ask me, does this work? Like, I said, of course it works. Like,
you've done it for the last 20 years or so, if it didn't.
Exactly. How motivated are you to change, though, the behaviour that's causing your anxiety or your phobia or your OCD or your trauma? Are you ready to step into that world? Because I find EMDR is very hard on clients, isn't it? Like,
it can be, and it can be.
It brings up a lot of stuff.
It can be intense, I think, is the thing, because your mind is.
It's like doing 10 sessions in one go, isn't it?
Yeah, but there again, you're there to get something, so you need to be ready to whatever it takes to move this, to shift this problem.
Move it, yeah, absolutely.
But you definitely need the client's cooperation, because when I'm helping somebody give up smoking, at the end of the session, well, the person is still in trance, I tell them this story, a little story. I'll just tell it here because it's a metaphor.
Lovely.
And
close your eyes, guys.
Yeah, some people will use a lot of metaphor to just tell a story, and the story, what happens is it sinks in, and it kind of later it kind of might just click with the person. But you'll get this, I'm pretty sure. And it's I say at the end of it, I said one day there was a frog, and she was hopping along a road that was heavy with mud and brown dirt. And she saw another frog that was stuck in a rut that a truck tire had made. And being a helpful kind of a frog, she stopped to see could she do anything, could she help? So she tried shouting, roaring, encouraging, all this, but no matter what she did, it wouldn't remain firmly stuck. So the guy who was stuck said to her, do you know what, if you hop in here, jump down here, I can hop up on your back and hop out and get free that way. And she goes, well, like if I did that, then I'd be stuck in it. She said, do you know what, I'm really busy today, I have a lot to do, I'm just going to go and maybe you can figure out something for yourself. So she left. And she'd hopped no further than 10 or 20 yards down the road when she heard a noise behind her. She turned around, and there was the frog that had been stuck in the rut hopping towards her. And she kind of gone, what? She said, I spent the last ages and ages trying to help you. No matter what I did, it didn't work. What did you do to get out of the rut? And he goes, there was a truck coming.
Oh!
Which means you've got to do it yourself. I can encourage you. I can facilitate it. You just have to do it.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's a very useful metaphor. And there's lots of similar kind of metaphors.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, no therapist or no hypnotherapist is going to cure you.
Oh yeah. You cannot. That's one thing, like, isn't it? And even with medications and everything, like, I don't want to get into it too much because I'm not a doctor, but people think as well if they get certain medications, it's going to cure everything. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
When I talk to doctors, I say to them, look, don't be too quick to prescribe really extra. Well, they're not going to give you extra strong medication to start with. But when you are recommending medication, anti-anxiety, and that, ask the person, did you go and talk to somebody about this? You need to go and talk to somebody. Medication keeps a lid on things, never cures it. And like there was an article in the Irish Independent a couple of years ago, which was psychiatrists were saying that medication doesn't cure.
It's not going to cure it,
controls it, it manages it. But to cure things, and I said at the outset, therapy isn't a panacea for everything. There are certain conditions that are not fixable with therapy, and when you ask a therapist, they'll tell you, like some psychosis and schizophrenia and stuff like that. I don't take on any of that kind of stuff. But you need to talk, and I would say that the therapist will facilitate and will dispense their advice and their wisdom, and they'll have certain strategies and interventions they can use. But at the end of the day, you do the work.
That's it.
It's like being an athlete, and you want to run 100 meters. No matter how good of a trainer, you have to do the 100 meters.
Exactly. Yeah. Bottom line is, if you don't want to change, you will not change.
Yeah. We are the Happy Headers. Like us, subscribe, and talk to us soon.
Thanks for listening.